Started. Hello again, and welcome to the Fraternal Chapter Toolkit webinar. A few quick housekeeping items. We are recording this webinar and can make it available after this is edited and ready to go. And then we've also muted everyone. So later on, when we open it up for Q&A, you'll need to unmute yourself. But today we're going to talk about how the toolkit came to be, dive into the flowcharts and resources that have been created, talk about ongoing support that the Alliance will be providing to all our societies that purchase the toolkit, and then we'll open it up for your questions at the end. But if you think of a question and comment and you want to just throw it in the chat, feel free to do that. We can be very flexible throughout this. So let's dive in. I'm Kate Schaefer, Director of Member Engagement and Communications with the Alliance, and I'm thrilled to have so many of you joining us today. We've already received some great feedback and lots of interest related to the toolkit. And we want to first start by introducing our team who assisted in creating this. Now, Alliance CEO Allison Capel is unable to join us today, but she was one of the brilliant minds behind the project. And she's super grateful for all the support you guys have shown throughout this process. I believe Marianne Polanowski is on the call, but if she's not, she's our special projects coordinator. She was very instrumental in helping bring the project to the final project to the finish line. She reviewed all the documents, make sure that everything was in sync. And now I'll turn it over to Kendra.
Maybe I need to do that.
Hi, everyone. I am Kendra Ansley. I am the Alliance Managing Director, and I worked with Kate and Allison and Marianne and Randa to help on the home office side of this toolkit and then put it together in a package that you all can access online. So I'm really excited to see how you're going to be using it and what it does for your society. And then Randa, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see all of you. I appreciate seeing so many familiar names and faces. It's good to be with you today. Just a little bit about me. I'm the owner of IMI Advisors, which is Insurance Marketing Institute. And I got to be able to be part of this project and bring with me 20 years of experience in marketing, advertising, insurance, and working with different fraternals, different insurance organizations, not only with AFA, but also with FINRA and the NAIC. And it's just really great to be with all of you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Kendra and Randa. So this project has been in the works for a couple of years, and it originated after the Alliance conducted a CEO survey a few years ago. And the results indicated that the chapter system was a current and future challenge for our members. So our team often gets feedback, has lots of conversations with you all at our events, and we're always hearing about different struggles or opportunities that you face with your chapters. And then internally at our staff meetings, we're constantly talking about the sector and ways that we can help our members. And I had formerly come from a fraternal, and we had talked about this, and I knew that this would be something that would have been very beneficial in my previous role, especially in helping change the mindset with leadership, with our members, and just getting the system up to a refreshed and modernized way of working. So being only a staff of 4, we leaned on our friend Randa, since she has been in the fraternal business, to help us get the ball rolling. And so Randa, do you want to talk a little bit about your background and influence on the toolkit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was really excited when you all approached me to talk about this particular project because one, to be able to kind of help develop and help write a lot of these different articles, I was just really jazzed about that because what it does is it provides, this is going to be like such a valuable resource, and it's going to have a lot of not only immediate impact, but a lot of long-term impact too. So what we did is we brainstormed a lot of the different experiences that we had, not only, collectively, our personal experiences and insights, but we also went to you to hear about what you are dealing with, what you're struggling with, where your successes are from a fraternal chapter side of things. So what our goal was really to develop this really usable resource. We wanted this to be not only a quick reference for all of you, but we also wanted to make sure that it was going to be flexible, that it would grow with us as you grow. We wanted it to be practical and actionable, and we wanted it to be able to be evolving as well. So for example, in the toolkit, there are a couple of sections that are kind of what I would call more compliance related. And those compliance items are going to be constantly changing, like, for example, how you track donations and what's required. What we're allowed to do then is update these documents so that all of our best practices are going to be current and updated. But we also wanted this toolkit to be able to remove some of that ambiguity that comes with fraternal chapters sometimes. And we wanted to be able to have chapter leaders have this resource to help grow, help strengthen their organizations. How do you have some of those tough conversations? What kind of checklists are going to be available to you so that you can help other people, so that you can help delegate or help them grow too? So our overall kind of principle of this entire toolkit was really to make sure that when chapters grow, when they thrive, what that's going to mean is that we're going to have stronger communities too, that our communities thrive. So it was really about providing an immediate resource, but really trying to do something on a larger scale that was going to have larger impact.
Fantastic. Thanks, Randa. So, as I mentioned before, I supported the home office side of this toolkit. And so each of your societies should have received a print copy of our flowchart. So you're seeing just part of the flowchart here on your screen. I know it's probably quite small and you can't read it, but we just wanted to give a visual. So we really designed this in sort of two parts. And now what I'll say is those parts are not entirely distinct. There's definitely a lot of overlap, as is the nature of fraternalism. But on the home office side, we're really saying you and your fraternal department are going to go through these steps and assess where you think you are today, and then evaluate how you want to move forward. What are your priorities, and what do you as a society need to look at first? So we recommend you start there, but as the welcome for this toolkit mentioned, you can jump around as you need to. This is not something you have to do exactly in order. You may say, I have this particular issue and I want to start here, and that's absolutely okay. You're welcome to do that. So on this home office chart, you have sort of two areas. We're looking at a SWOT analysis, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat, and then mission clarity. And so those are going to lead into a series of tools and resources related to chapter governance, fraternal expense analysis, volunteer engagement, chapter relations, and agent engagement. So we recognize that looking at this and seeing it alongside the other flowcharts can be really overwhelming. It's a very large undertaking, but we're hoping if you just start with the SWOT analysis, you'll get a little bit of your rhythm going, you'll understand where to start, and just take it piece by piece. So in your toolkit, you have two items that we talked about. So the SWOT analysis was actually Randa created for us. And so this is an opportunity to say, what are our strengths? Where are things where we're already really succeeding? What are our weaknesses? And I think probably that area might be the easiest to fill in. I know that's something that I tend to do first, but really honing in on what are your opportunities then, and then what are threats to your system? What sorts of things could happen that could change the course that you need to take? So starting with this, we recommend that you undergo this SWOT analysis either individually and then coming together as a fraternal department group. So really comparing notes. Everyone has a unique perspective, or just go ahead and sit down together and do it together. The other section that we have here in the home office is mission clarity. So what we really want for you to do is say, is our mission as a society clear to our employees? Is it clear to our chapter leaders? Is it clear to our members at large? And is it clear to our agents? And based on your answer to those questions, we are going to send you sort of down two different paths. You're either going to say, do we need to adjust our mission, or do you need to adjust your messaging? Maybe your mission is clear and they just don't understand it. But we give you the tools to evaluate that and then to take those next steps as you need. So that would be defining your mission and then bringing that mission to life. So Kate, I'll pass it over to you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
The next resource and toolkit that or part of that toolkit that we have is really to understand chapter relations and support. Part of that document, or at least one of the documents that's in that particular section, is going to be assessing chapter relations. What this is helpful to do and to understand is that there's really no kind of special training required. What it does is it helps give everyone a voice, and it helps give you an understanding of kind of an evaluation of where you're at. It also gives you a deeper understanding of several kind of key categories in terms of understanding your chapter's health. So for example, it'll ask questions about leadership, communication, finances, programming. And what you can do is you can really kind of take a pulse as to where your chapter is at. And then it starts the dialogue. It starts your chapter being able to have conversations in terms of where improvement needs to happen and where some of those priorities are at. But it's also the other side of the coin too, in terms of what are we doing well? Where are the opportunities where we can scale some of the things that we're doing, or where can we find long-term success? What this also does is it gives you that kind of data data input to say, this is where our decisions need to be made, and they're rooted in evidence. And that really helps chapters have sometimes those larger conversations in terms of what do we need to do short term? What do we need to do long term? And then you can check back too, because this is repeatable. So the first time you do this particular assessment, it's really nice because it kind of sets a benchmark, right? And then in a year, if you do it again, you can see where there's been improvement and where there can be additional items or to do action items on your end.
And I just wanted to note this similarly, you want to have a group of stakeholders participating in the process. Everyone's perspectives are unique. And so there should be sort of an assigned team, if you will, looking at this more collectively. The other thing that these assessments take into account sort of throughout is we understand that part of the challenge is the communication maybe back from the chapter, telling you what's going on, that sort of thing. And so there are pieces in place that help you say, I actually don't know this answer. And it helps you prioritize, like maybe that's an area to focus on. And so we understand that's a challenge, and we've tried to build in ways for that to come into your scoring process.
Thank you, Kendra and Randa. And it's funny because initially the home office operations part of the toolkit did not exist. We were strictly focused on just evaluating the chapter system. And as we got into it, we really realized we needed a component to support the fraternal operations. So that's just one of the ways that this toolkit has really just evolved and expanded as we've put ourselves in your shoes and tried to think about the situations that you guys are in as fraternal department leaders and dealing with the chapters. So we, as Randa mentioned, hope to add to this and update it and learn from all of you as we move through this next year and beyond, as the toolkit really becomes a resource for you all. So now we're going to dive into the chapter assessment part of the toolkit. There's two parts to this, and we're going to first focus on this side, which is the active side of the chapter system. And when you start here, you'll start over on the left-hand side of the screen where it's highlighted. It says chapter assessment. And if we go to the next slide, this part of the assessment walks you through the suggested way to evaluate all your chapters so that you can determine if they are active or dormant and how to proceed from there. On the active side, we've identified it. Sorry, once you go through the assessment, you'll get a number, And then we've kind of categorized them based on how many points they get, they're active, how many points they only have, they'd be on the dormant side. So then on the active side, we identified 3 main areas to work through the flow chart. You have creating your pipeline of leaders and officers, compliance, which encompasses, I think, 8 or 9 different subsections, and then fraternal membership, engagement, and growth. So just in the active side of this toolkit, we have about 60 resources to walk you through those different sections. And one quick note is these resources are meant to be guides for you. They're generally helpful for everyone, but they're not a one size fits all. So take what works for your society, adjust it accordingly, and know that often it helps to have a starting point when you're trying to make these big changes. So that's what we tried to do, was just get a general sense of where we hope your chapter system is or where you want it to be and go from there. And obviously, if we missed the mark somewhere, let us know. We're happy to make adjustments. But this active side of the toolkit will really keep you busy for months and months. And we joke that there could be like a webinar on every section for like the next 5 years, just on the active side. So we're excited to see how you all put that to use. Randa, did you want to talk about any parts of the active side?
Yeah, on the active side, one of my favorite sections is going to be the membership and engagement growth. There are a lot of helpful tools, particularly in the social media and really trying to engage some of the younger generations. But it also has some really good information about that you can kind of like, I don't want to say steal, but kind of steal. You can copy and paste some of those social media posts into your own Facebook page, Instagram posts. There are emails that you can copy and take and adapt into your own work. So it's really taking some of this heavy lifting and making it very easy for you. But membership, engagement, and growth is probably one of my favorites for that reason.
Awesome. And on the reverse of the active side, we have the dormant flow chart. And this will give you 3 options to work through. And again, that assessment will help you determine what chapters are dormant. And we know that this is a delicate and sensitive topic. And, we tried to bake that into the assessment, but we also know that sometimes you just need someone to say, okay, these chapters, there needs to be a different process and action taken for them. So within the dormant side, you have 3 areas to choose from. A chapter will either be identified from the assessment as discontinuing immediately. We've created a recommended process there to help you gracefully go about that and basically close down the chapter within a 3 to 6 month period. Or the chapter could be sunset, meaning the end result is still to close the chapter, but you're looking maybe a year or 2 out. Say there's still active members, so you've got to figure out where to shuffle those people, or they have projects that they want to wind down, donations to disperse, just dealing with all those variables in a timely and respectful manner. And then there's a third option of reviving a chapter. And this is for those chapters where there's maybe a renewed energy here. Maybe you've got some new leadership in the chapter and they've reached out to the home office and they're really trying to bring the chapter back to life. Or maybe this chapter is on the bubble when you did the assessment. They're considered dormant, but you could see them becoming active. And just talking with the officers and having conversations with your team, maybe given a little time and effort, you could make this chapter into what you want it to be. So you'll work through the revive process there with the goal to ultimately move that chapter up into the active side and then work through all the steps there for that chapter. Kendra, Randa, anything I forgot on those 2 sections?
I think you did an awesome job. What I would just say is that with the dormant chapters, sometimes you really do have to have some of those hard conversations. But I do think a lot of these articles and checklists in this particular section help take the emotion out of it. And so it's really about being able to make a decision that's best for your members, that's best for the chapter. And I think it will bring some more peace if you ever find yourself in that situation.
Well said. Let's go to the next slide, I believe. Now that we've covered the flow chart, and for those of you who have purchased the toolkit, you should have already received your hard copy version. If you've purchased it recently, it'll be in the mail and on its way to you. But we've also housed those documents online, which Kendra will talk about in a minute. But along with your purchase, you also have access to the dozens of worksheets, articles, best practices, the institutional documents that we've created, along with this community to share your successes, your feedback, your improvements, what's working, where you're struggling. So we want to be part of this journey with you because we believe this is a really valuable tool, and we want to see you all succeed in the process. Kendra, do you want to talk a little bit about the online portion of it?
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to do was make this sort of a living resource. And so as we've talked about, like, we anticipate that there will be areas to add or grow or improve as we go along. And so we're definitely open to that feedback, as Kate mentioned. The other thing that we wanted to do is be able to provide the documents to you in a way that you can sometimes edit them. So if you've already clicked around, you probably have noticed some of the documents are PDFs. Those are probably those like research articles, different things like that. And then some are Word versions so that you can edit and amend and do what you need to do to sort of personalize it, because as Kate said, we know this is certainly not one size fits all. And so the best way to do that is to place this information online. It's just that single sign-on, so you're welcome to share that with anyone else from your team. You may be sort of working in different areas, and so you're welcome to share that password with others in your home office. And then you're welcome to print the documents. So as you download them, if you like that physical copy, please feel free to print those. The flowcharts, I know we just mailed one copy to the society purchasers, but there is a link that you're able to find a printable version and print that as well. So anyone on your team could have a copy of that as well. Hey, you want to talk about these webinars?
Yeah. So as we mentioned, this is a journey, and we don't want to just abandon you all as you're like diving into the toolkit. And now you're like, how do we expect these to function? So we're going to host quarterly webinars just like this throughout 2026. We'll identify the topics to cover. Actually, here in a little bit, we'd love to hear what you're interested the most in learning about first. Maybe that will help. And tell us how you've envision them working, but also hear how they've been working for you and what feedback you have for us. So these first 3 webinars are scheduled, and I know Kendra will be sending out those invites to those who have purchased the toolkit. We're still determining the final toolkit webinar for later in the year, depending on how the rest of our events shake out for 2026. And then we also plan to have a workshop specifically designated to the toolkit. So that'll be in the Fraternal and Communications track. The symposium is May 6th through the 8th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and registration opens next month for that. And for those of you who have purchased it, I'll definitely be leaning into a few volunteers to assist with that workshop, to kind of lead the way on what's worked, and just share your results as of, end of April, beginning of May, and where you are with the toolkit. So nothing too intensive, just want to be able to share best practices and observations with those who are there, since it's such a collaborative event.
And I do want to note, as Kate mentioned, I will email out to societies who have purchased the toolkit the invites for these webinars, but it's not limited to the single person who filled out the form to purchase the toolkit. You're welcome to send me an email for anyone else you want to add to these meetings. So as you see those agendas or the content shape up, if there's folks from your team you want to include, absolutely all are welcome. We want this to be as useful and helpful as it can be. So the investment for this, we tried to make it really affordable for our members. If you participated in the cohort, you received a special code to reduce the price to $225. We really appreciate your time and feedback through the process, and we wanted to acknowledge that. If you did not participate in the cohort, it's still just $425. So we hope this makes it accessible to everyone in our membership. And then we also offer the toolkit to non-members at a different price. So if you haven't purchased it yet, you can scan the QR code on this page to get to that I'd say registration page, purchase page, I guess is more appropriate. We're used to events. And see more. If you have questions about any of this, or if your society did participate in the cohort and you need that access code again to reduce the price, just reach out to us. We're happy to help.